What's going on? Ben Daniel podcast here, guys. How we doing today? A lot of requests on the Ben Daniel podcast. Hey, what do you think about this YouTuber talking about Caitlin Clark? What do you think about this particular video? What do you think about that particular video? Hey, this particular podcaster said this. What do you think about that? So what we're going to do, getting ready for the Indiana Fever to get back to basketball, what we are going to do, we're going to go over all these different various Caitlin Clark YouTube videos, whether it's podcast videos, highlight packages, breakdown videos, videos of all the likes, ranting and raving, no matter what it is. I'm going to give you guys what you want. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out today with Hoop Venue. Hoop Venue has 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's a very well-known YouTuber. He doesn't just do Caitlin Clark. He does NBA. He does WNBA. He does it all. And his most recent video at 34,000 views is We Need to Talk About Caitlin Clark. Now, before you guys do anything, please check him out on Twitter at hoopvenue_, and the creator of the channel, the guy that breaks it all down, does the content, Mr. Tyler Britton. So please do Tyler a favor and follow him on both of his accounts. But now, without further ado, let's get right into it. This guy has 100,000 subscribers, so I'm expecting some pretty good breakdown right here. Let's see what we're getting into, folks.
For the past few years, Caitlin Clark has rapidly made a name for herself as one of the most polarizing and influential figures in all of sports.
Okay.
From consistently selling out arenas during her senior season and playing in the most viewed basketball game in ESPN history to having this sort of impact.
Now, most of this guy's videos are NBA related, right? I was looking at his stuff. A lot of his videos are NBA related. He doesn't really do too many WNBA related videos, but Caitlin Clark is a
On
special
All-Star
case.
voting, it's impossible to not talk about her. But the question is, does the level of play actually match the hype she had coming into the league? The most infamous part of her game, and of course what drew so much attention in the first place, is her long-range shooting. I'm not sure we've ever seen a basketball player with the complete and utter audacity to attempt some of the threes that she does. Whether
I would agree that her long-range shooting is what drove me to her, for sure, no doubt.
that means firing over a heavy contest from the
Not that she's shooting from far, but she's making them in, and she's a woman doing it 100%.
logo, or catching the ball at a weird angle and squaring while on the move to capitalize on a tight window. Not only is she quick to square her feet, she also has a fast release, which means that if she has even an inch of breathing room, she can get that shot off comfortably. So a big part of Indiana's offense has been running her around screens without the ball to find that open space.
I do agree that her release time is very underrated. She does have a very quick trigger on it, and that wasn't really spoken about at all coming out of the draft. They talked about her passing. They talked about her playmaking. They really hammered home her three-point shooting, but they didn't really talk about the quickness in which she gets it off and how she needs literally no space to get that thing off.
One thing you'll notice though is that her shooting motion starts from find that open space. One thing you'll notice though is that her shooting motion starts from her left hip, and that does somewhat limit the versatility of these actions. Here's an example of her receiving a handoff while going to her right, and as she takes a dribble, she has to completely reset her momentum to square and set up her shot. It simply isn't as seamless. Compare that to this play where she comes off a screen going left, and again she takes a dribble, but instead of having to slow down and square up, all it takes is a quick jump stop. Most of the time, these screens are gonna be set to her left side, and like I said, she's capable of taking and making just about any shot in these situations.
Now I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a good breakdown. I wish Christy Sides would understand that. Now he said most of these screens she's coming off her left-hand side. I feel like I don't see it nearly as often as he's making it seem like. And I've watched every single Caitlin Clark Indiana Fever game.
Leads to very Steph Curry-esque possessions where she draws an immediate double and floats it into the short roller, creating a 4-on-3 advantage for the team to attack.
That's
in
beautiful
the event
passing.
that she draws that added attention off a screen, but there isn't a quick read to make as a passer, then she'll put the ball down on the floor and attack the closeout, opening up the court for what she does best. Just a few days ago, Caitlin recorded 10 assists in a statement win against Team USA.
Folks, look how beautiful of a pass that is. Jesus, that's like Peyton Manning dropping it in to Marvin Harrison for a touchdown. That's like fucking Tom Brady beautifully placing it for Rob Gronkowski. That was a beautifully placed pass
A few
right
days
here.
ago, Caitlin recorded 10 assists in a statement win against Team USA.
Jesus.
Just 3 days before that, she set a WNBA record with 19 assists against the Dallas Wings. And that was right after an 8-game stretch where she had at least 13 assists in half of them. Over her last 9 games, she's averaging just under 12 dimes, while no other player in the league is averaging even 8.
Let that sink in. Over the last 9 games, she's averaging 12 dimes, while no other player is averaging at least 8. This is elite playmaking ability. Elite playmaking ability that we're seeing with the likes of Nalissa Smith, Katie Lou, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Ball. With these people missing wide open layups, Caitlin Clark is still doing this.
That's a huge gap and truly a testament to how good of a playmaker she is. A lot of her best passes come in transition. She's incredible at initiating the break with pinpoint outlets or sharp kick-aheads to running teammates. And like with her shooting, she'll sneak the ball through seemingly impossible gaps. Look at how the floor is set up on this one. There's barely any room in the middle, yet with...
Folks, the fact that she gets this ball to Katie Lou Samuelson at this point right here, we all see it. The fact that Caitlin Clark's like, let me just fit this in right here is disgusting.
Look at how the floor is set up on this one. There's barely any room in the middle, yet with a bullet pass, the end result is a layup.
Beautiful.
If she doesn't see a needle to thread on the push, then she'll patiently wait for something to open up while keeping her dribble alive. And on some of these plays, you might just think you're watching Steve Nash and the 7 seconds or less Suns.
Yeah, some people call that the Nash dribble, when he just dribbled right through the basket. To be honest with you, that was something she struggled with mightily those first few, 10 games, 12 games. She always would get stuck underneath the basket, take a few dribbles, right as soon as she gets the block, as soon as she gets into the paint, the teeth of the defense, she would pick up her dribble, get double teamed, force into a bad turnover. She's done a much better job these last 10 to 15 games of managing the ball and doing that dribble through that Steve Nash used to do, no doubt.
However, with those 12 assists, she's also averaging nearly 6 turnovers, and that's cause for serious concern because that's significantly more than any other player. One thing I will say is that by proxy of having the ball in her hands a lot, she's obviously not going to take perfect care of it every time. It's the same reason why guys like Harden, Westbrook, or LeBron average so many during the late 2010s, and not everyone can take care of the rock quite like Chris Paul. But actually, and this might sound backwards, sometimes turnovers are actually a good...
That's actually disgusting before he even gets into whatever he's going to get into. Those James Harden... Comparing her turnovers to Russell Westbrook is just bad. Russell Westbrook's turnovers were... He has no dribble, sloppy with the basketball, out of control. Caitlin Clark doesn't give me out of control. Sometimes she's sloppy with the basketball, but she's never out of control. And then James Harden, that was a whole era of him exploiting foul calls, exploiting the referees. So his turnovers, a bevy of his turnovers, were trying to extra sell the call. They weren't really even turnovers. They were just him playing bad style of basketball. And then if you noticed, once the referees buckled down on those nasty foul calls, James Harden game suddenly started diminishing year after year after year. And I don't want to hear because he's been getting older. No, It has to do with the way the referees have been calling it.
Good thing. Well, when the turnover occurs, that isn't good, but the process behind why the ball is getting turned over is more what I'm focused on. A hallmark of many elite playmakers is the willingness to take risks, and a lot of Caitlin's turnovers come as a result of attempting a risky play that just simply doesn't connect. I've seen many people talk about her teammates not catching the ball, and you definitely will find some plays where she sneaks it into a tight window, then the receiver isn't able to control it. I also think you'll find that a lot of times these risky passes are a bit off target. Like here, she has to take a wide angle to get it around this defender, and it ends up going straight out of bounds. With that said, whenever she...
Yeah, but if we're really looking at that, if Aaliyah Boston wasn't to try to... If she didn't try to sit and settle in the paint and kept going, so she ended up on the right side of the basket, that ball would have went right to her. Look how Aaliyah kind of settles down. Caitlin's kind of expecting her to go to the right side of the basket. Aaliyah kind of settles down in the front of the basket. Look at this.
Bit off target. Like here, she has to
down.
take a
Boom.
wide
You
angle
see?
to get it around
Instead
this
of continuing
defender,
to go, she
and it
looks
ends up
and
going
boom.
straight
You
out
see?
of bounds. With that said, whenever she does connect on these tougher reads, the reward is almost always worth it. The audacity to even attempt this pass from this spot on the floor is absurd, and the result is the most efficient shot in basketball.
That is absurd.
Another factor that leads to some turnovers is that she occasionally telegraphs her passes. On this one, she's looking to enter the ball to the post and sees this defender cheating over from the corner. That's a textbook read to skip it to the shooter. Instead of throwing it with a live dribble though, she jump stops and starts to turn her body, which gives that defender time to recover. Skip passes aren't a strength of hers, although you will occasionally see some strong ones. This time they're up against a zone, and she finds the corner with pinpoint accuracy right in the pocket for an easy triple.
But even then, it looked a little bit skip pass-ish, did it not? Seems like we're splitting hairs here.
We'll occasionally see some strong ones.
Now, when I'm saying skip, I'm thinking one-hand whip pass, kind of like she did to Lexi Hull not too long ago. I'm thinking one-hand cross-court it.
This time they're up against a
She
zone,
still does the
and she finds the
from
corner
2
with
feet.
pinpoint accuracy right in the pocket
Great
for
pass,
an
though.
easy triple.
Right on the money.
So the playmaking talent is clearly there. The vision, the tight window passing, the ability to play
my God.
fast or slow it down.
Just when you think she was
But
gonna dump it
even
off to
more
Katie Lou.
important than how she connects on these opportunities is how she creates them in the first place. And that comes back to how she pressures the defense as an on-ball scorer. It once again starts with the shooting. I talked about how she'll run off screens to find space. Nearly half of her threes are unassisted though, meaning that she is self-creating a decent amount of outside shot.
That Michael Jordan forearm is going to get her in trouble soon. Eventually, it's going to get her into some trouble.
She's got a smooth transfer of energy getting the ball off the floor and into a jumper. Like I mentioned, she's got unlimited range, so she's a threat to pull the trigger as soon as she crosses half court. And she's also an elite ball handler, which is what allows her to create enough space to get these up at volume. When handling the ball, the first thing that stands out is how fast she processes the defense. As soon as her defender takes a jab, she's throwing it behind her back to change directions and stepping into a wide open look, although this one doesn't drop. This time it's in transition where she threatens a drive before pulling back, which actually snaps some ankles, and with all the time in the world to set her feet, again she doesn't convert. The reason
She rushed it. Oh my God, what a nasty
I think
play.
it's important to show the misses is that on the season she's only made about 33% of her threes. We're not talking about some uber efficient shot. I will say that a lot of these are tough looks, so it's not like she's just missing a bunch of open threes, but sometimes that comes as a result of her own shot selection because she's no stranger to taking really questionable shots in transition or early in the shot clock.
Yeah, she's slowed down. Not slowed down, but she's really limited the amount of logo threes, the amount of pull-up threes, the amount of let me just heave it from half court threes, the amount of it's not going my way, let me shoot it threes. She's really limited that the last 10 to 15. Again, these last 10 to 15 games. These last 10 to 15 games, she's been playing nearly flawless basketball. She's had the occasional here and there, Chrissy Sides holding her back, maybe a bad shooting night, but even her bad shooting nights, she's coming out. She's affecting it with her passing, her rebounding, her defense. She's one of the leading shot blockers in the league for a guard, and she's in her rookie season, so she understands what she's doing. She has been evolving. Same thing I said with that dribble through. She's kind of limited the amount of logo threes that she's been shooting lately.
However,
I think she just needs to start dribbling past these girls, to be honest. I think she can do it. I think she just needs to do it.
that comes back to the audaciousness. Every single person in the arena knows that Caitlyn is willing to take those types of threes, and everyone knows that she'll make some.
Folks,
And
let's
that
just look at
alone-
this real quick. Let's just look at this Marina Mabry. Hit her on her hand blatantly and no foul call.
Audaciousness. Every single person in the arena knows that Caitlyn is willing to take
right on
those
her
types
hand.
of threes.
She never gets that foul call. Hitting on her hand, invading her landing space, she never gets that foul call. She'd be averaging maybe 19 points by now if she was to get that foul call. She would get that at least once or twice a game, no doubt about it.
And everyone knows that she'll make some, and that alone applies so much pressure. So she demands attention right when she crosses half court.
Celeste
then she
Taylor.
can weaponize the pull-up threes. Here, hesitating before throwing it between her legs to start a drive
Celeste.
as she takes it to the house.
Celeste.
I mentioned that she's a
They were calling the Phoenix Mercury parking cones that game.
remarkable ball handler. Here's another one where a quick change of direction sends her defender to the floor with nobody left to prevent her from walking into a
Folks, notice we're about a little bit more than halfway into the season. We've already seen her put two people on their knees.
layup. Her go-to move is that behind the back we saw earlier. This time she uses her offhand
highlight
to
tape's
push
gonna be
while
crazy.
redirecting, which generates an insane amount of separation and results in a red carpet to the rim.
That Rookie of the Year
Dare I
highlight
say
tape's
she
going to
has
be
the best
crazy.
behind the back on the planet, because look at the reaction time and speed on this. Then when a second defender commits to the ball, she's got an easy pass to the wing for a wide open triple.
Everything you want.
His right hand.
Yeah, she's been killing it lately for sure. No doubt about it.
He's really good at starting and stopping and is willing to initiate contact on these drives, which when paired with the sharp handle allows her to consistently knife her way down the lane. And actually, I don't think her ability to play with physicality gets talked about much at all. She's great at using her shoulders to create separation, which also helps her get to the free throw line a decent amount. That
Folks, I've said this a few
shooting threat
times.
helps.
I've said this a few times on the podcast. If she wants to, she can get to the lane at will, and she is 6 feet. This isn't a 5'10 guard, not a 5'9 guard. This isn't somebody like Kelsey Mitchell. This is a 6-footer right here. Same height as Diana Taurasi. Caitlin Clark is quicker than Diana Taurasi, faster than Diana Taurasi, not as strong yet, but every time she's on the block, no matter who it's against, she's proven that she can go right up over these girls. I don't know why she doesn't do it on a more consistent basis, because she can't.
Open up the floor for her to drive. The threat of her getting downhill then opens up more for her on the perimeter, giving her some really effective scoring counters. Like I said, she's really good at starting and stopping. So when it looks like she's about to drive, she can slam the brakes, then cross back to her left to get into her shooting motion. All she needs is an inch of breathing room. And even more importantly than the craftiness of her handle is how secure it is. It's always on a string, which means that she's comfortable keeping it alive in even the tightest quarters, which plays a
Folks, like that play right there. Look at this. Look at the high level of difficulty of this
is
play.
an inch.
Look at the high level of difficulty of this play. We'll mute that real quick. Look at the high level of difficulty from this play. Boom, dribbling in, dribbling it out, selling the handoff. Nope, not doing the dribble handoff. In and out dribble, right by her, pump fake, right over you. Like, this is disgusting. This is nasty work. This is somebody in their rookie season toying with these women. It's gross, folks. Caitlin Clark is undoubtedly 100% Rookie of the Year. The fact that this is a discussion is wild.
Big role in her ability to create for teammates. I made the Steve Nash comparison earlier because she absolutely loves taking the Nash dribble. That's when you get under the basket, and instead of looking for a quick pass or layup, continue moving across the lane with the ball to freeze the defense. From there, it's likely that some opportunity will present itself.
Folks, she didn't even look to see Aaliyah Boston make this in. She didn't even look to see Aaliyah make it in. She just dribbled away. She's disgusting.
The ball handling, the passing, the pull-up shooting, and the driving, it's turned her into a complete maestro of the pick and roll. If she comes off that screen and the big is even half a second late getting out to the level, she's pulling up for a jumper every single time. And if the big isn't late, well, the rest of the defense has to execute to perfection, because if not, her roller is walking into some more easy points at the rim. Or she's getting into the defense herself. Like I said, she's comfortable handling through tight gaps, such as splitting a double, and the defense is right back to dealing with her drives. Not only does the big have to do everything right to not give up a jumper or driving lane, the point of attack defender has to make sure she uses the screen. If the big is up at the level and Caitlin's able to reject it, there's nobody left to protect the paint. Once again, you see that famous Nash dribble as she patiently waits for a cutter to open up.
Remember the amount of backdoor passes we saw that Phoenix Mercury game? Chrissy Sides, draw it up. What are you doing?
The defense wants a possession to look like this. Her defender forcing her to use the screen, the big getting out to not give her any sort of scoring angle, and getting the ball out of her hands. That way the roller also has to be a decision maker, although it's now coming with a numbers advantage. This brings me back to that Steph Curry comparison from earlier. The defense is so stressed about her scoring that they're willing to give up an automatic 4-on-3 advantage, to which her teammates just have to capitalize by making the right play.
She loves anticipating that slip from Aaliyah Boston on those high ball screens.
Plays downhill, and she can get the ball to the roller pretty much every time. When the big jumps out in a hedge on this one, she's looking for the shovel pass, but can't quite find a gap to sneak it through. So she waits for the roll to materialize before instead floating it over the top to create an open layup. The key here is,
folks, she's incredible. Come on, what are we doing here?
Patience. She knows that the big is going to react to anything she does, and she'll use that to her advantage to make them commit, which then creates the opening for those sharp passes to the roller.
So don't let that chip spoil your...
She is great at utilizing the pick and roll. She's great at utilizing the high ball screen. I wish they would set her tougher ball screens. I wish Aaliyah Boston would use her caboose a little bit more. Aaliyah, it is what it is. You ditch the colored hair, you turn into a beast. Act like it. These girls can't compete with you. If you set tough ball screens, you set tough off ball screens, they're not getting through you. And whoever it is, whether it's Lexi Hall, whether it's Kelsey Mitchell coming off an off ball, whether it's Katie Lou popping out from a flare screen, whatever it is, I mean, you have the body type, you have the caboose to just move these women out of your way. I think you need to do it more often. I think you can do it more often.
There's really only one gripe I have with her pick and roll attack, and it's something that I think could determine her ceiling as a scorer. Outside of the occasional floater, she really doesn't have much of an in-between game at all, and can sometimes struggle playing at different speeds.
Yeah, this is something we talk about a lot, guys. She needs to develop that mid-range. If she just does a floater, that'd be fine for me. She doesn't need to do a mid-range. It would help. We saw it at Iowa. I don't know why we don't see it too much here on the WNBA level. It could just be a comfort thing. Thanks a lot, Christy Sides. But if she just has a floater, a la Tony Parker, I think she'd be in good shape.
This reminds me a lot of Damian Lillard, where if she doesn't have access to a pull-up three, drive, or quick passing read right off the screen, there really isn't that third level that she can patiently carve out space and find a shot from. That's not to say there haven't been flashes. I really like this play where she sees a deep drop coverage, pauses and puts her defender in jail. Then when the lane clears, she continues her drive down the middle for 2 points plus a foul. Here's another great play where she sees drop coverage, takes it to about the free throw line, and fakes a mid-range jumper to draw the big. Then when the corner drops to the roller, she skips it to an open shooter, once again showing off her ability to map the floor.
What a read.
Keep in mind that the mid-range stuff is a small gripe that I think means a lot for her development, but in the grand scheme of the WNBA, she's already one of the very best offensive players.
Yeah, I think the mid-range could be the difference between her being a 25 point per game to a 28 point per game. You know, difference between her being 25 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, but between her being 28 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds, you know? So it definitely will help. It definitely will help. And if anything, maybe her assist numbers will go up because people will feel inclined to help a little bit more in the midi.
The 3-point percentage isn't great, but the volume with which she gets them off is, landing second in the league at over 8 3-point attempts per game. I mentioned that she's pretty good at getting to the line, just over 4 free throw attempts a game to be exact, which puts her in the top 20, and she hits nearly 90% of them. Pair that with the fact that she shoots above average at the rim and is a force in transition, and we're talking about an elite scorer. On the season, she's averaging 17 points, 13th, on 56.7% true shooting, which is more than 3% ahead of average.
Bonafide.
Those are some impressive marks. When paired with the passing and ball handling, it's easy to see why many view her as the
Bonafide bucket getter, bonafide bucket set upper. I mean, she's a bonafide
future of women's basketball. As she continues to grow, I'd expect her to weed out some of those unforced turnovers, maybe be a bit better with her shot selection, add some more in-between counters, and just simply sharpening the edges would be enough to get her into that rare territory of offensive brilliance. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my...
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I enjoyed that. I thought he gave us some good information. That's Hoop Venue, folks. If you guys haven't seen any of Hoop Venue stuff before, please follow him on Twitter. Hoop Venue _ Tyler Britton _ and then give him a subscribe on YouTube as well. Caitlin Clark, I mean, she's clearly Rookie of the Year. Clearly making the biggest impact. Clearly rubbing off on her teammates as well. Some of the turnovers that we've been seeing from her teammates is everybody getting a little bit too pass happy. Nalissa Smith is getting too pass happy. Kelsey Mitchell, she's not turning the ball over, getting pass happy, but she's been taking a step back, kind of giving Caitlin Clark the reins and letting her do her thing before we jumped over here until the All-Star break. So I'm interested to see how that's going to unfold in the second half of the season. Like I said, folks, this is the Ben Daniel Podcast. We're talking about Caitlin Clark. We're going to be reacting to more of these videos as we get down to Caitlin Clark making her return from the All-Star break. If you enjoyed this, let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed this type of content. Have a good one. Take it easy.